Mr. Desmond.
I just have a question on why we still have, and I know they ask this every time, and I probably get the same answer, and I can't remember what it is. So why is there still 84 permits out there that we have not issued?
So we don't have 84 available permits. We have a certain number of permits that are single-day operating permits, A and/or B days, and then we have a certain number of permits that operate both days. For those permits that operate both days, those are counted twice. So that gets us to the 450 permit total that we have outstanding, which is what we have in our code.
So we have the 450 right now.
Yes, sir.
And the fact that we were able to accommodate, I guess, Uber with another parking lot, Uber and Lyft, I got the TNCs with another parking lot because we got more vehicles here than we could handle. But we obviously were able to handle those extra TNCs. Is that correct?
We started with initially 90 spaces with the pilot program for a TNC hold lot out next to the cell phone lot. We've recently increased that, doubling it in size. And those spaces came away from the employee parking lot where we have those, the TNC hold lot. We just made the employee lot smaller, moved the fencing, and put the TNCs there.
Okay.
Are there other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
So move staff recommendation.
There is a motion and a second to support staff recommendation. Is there further discussion?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of concerned with, we talk we want an even playing field, but we don't walk it always. And so with the, I'm almost in favor of the, opening up or just looking at opening up the taxis to all cabs. I mean, we do it with the TNCs. We say we want an even playing field, and we don't do it with the taxis. And quite frankly, it's kind of disturbing, and I know that the permits, I've never liked the permit system that we have, that there's a handful of people, a handful of permit holders that control these things and sell them, or they lease them out to other drivers. Hold it. Now, so it's never been a perfect system, and I really don't like the fact that we're not controlling those permits. Somebody else out on the street is. I would like to see staff look into the possibility of opening this up. I'm okay moving forward today, but I think we should take a fair look at this to see about evening the playing field. And the city opened it up. It didn't, there wasn't a lot of chaos there. And I know we have restrictions and we'd have on insurance and things like that. But the cab industry has taken a hit, and I don't know that the system that we have in place is still the most optimum system for the airport. If opening it up is going to be, detrimental or better for our passengers or worse, I don't know if we can possibly limit the number of vehicles queuing up on the airport or charge a fee for queuing up on the airport. To me, I think we can do better for the cab industry, and I think the permit process is out of our control and unfortunately is being used to other people's benefit, not necessarily airports. So I would like to ask staff to work with and come back with the pros and cons of opening this up to everybody or for taxi cabs to like we do with the TNCs.
We can definitely do that, sir.
So would the maker of the motion, I guess, allow that discussion or that to go forward and come back, I guess, with 6 months from now with
As a maker of the motion was to extend the thing for 6 months so that we always are on the same calendar. What you're asking for, I think, is something that a board could ask staff to do because we're going to be looking at this in 6 months. So I'd like to leave my motion as it is.
Well, could I ask for staff to give staff direction to look at this and come back with the pros and cons of opening this up to all cabs? And I guess revising this permit process so that we're back in control of it and not other people.
We could ask for a substitute motion that we approve the resolution today with further direction to staff that they look at the permit, opening it up to everybody. That would be an appropriate substitute motion.
Well, I'll make that substitute motion then.
And I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay.
Really, it's just direction. I got one more thing. Mr. Tariq, when you come up with an offensive sign and hold it in front of the board, it doesn't help your case. Thank you. Sorry. But
Yeah, I appreciate that as being the one that was facing most of the time. So
Yeah.
really?
no, it's offensive. It doesn't help you. period.
All right, so there is a substitute motion on the table, which is to move the staff recommendation with the understanding that staff will look into and provide a list or an analysis of the pros and cons of opening up the permit system, and also provide some recommendations and/or thoughts on ways that we could have more control over those permits and what the impact of that would be on the holders of those permits.
Well, not the holders of the permits, 'cause I don't really care. Well, I do, for the ones that control them, I guess I'm more, if it has an effect on, what effect it may have on the passengers here at the airport is really what I'm concerned about.
If I can provide some background, there are currently about 1,200 MTS permitted taxis in San Diego. I may be off a little bit on the number, but what you're asking is if we examine that option, that would be to allow all 1,200 taxis rather than just the 366 vehicles that we have now, allow those 1,200 to operate at the airport. And as a reminder, we provided some information about this in the February board meeting when we discussed this, and the board recommended to extend those MOAs for 3 years to allow equipment and investment recovery for those modes, those MOA members that we have now, but we can definitely refresh that, bring it back before this 6-month MOA agreement expires and present that again to you.
Well, and there's how many Uber drivers and TNCs are out there? As compared to the 12, yeah, it's okay.
So we'll bring that back to the board with that information again.
To, are we opening up the airport for additional permits? That decision was made by the board last year, so at this time, staff was not bringing that item back in front of the board. We were only bringing the customer service side, or the MOAs that outline dress code and how taxi cabs and vehicle for hires will operate here at the airport from a customer service standpoint.
Thank you, but if he feels like
Ask for staff to give for staff direction to look at this and come back with the pros and cons of opening this up to all cabs, and I guess revising this permit process so that we're back in control of it and not other people.
We could ask for a substitute motion that we approve the resolution today with further direction to staff that they look at the permit, opening it up to everybody. That would be an appropriate substitute motion.
Well, I'll make that substitute motion then.
And I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay.
Really, it's just direction.
Here, so at this time, staff was not bringing that item back in front of the board.
Well, I'll make that substitute motion then.
And I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay.
Really, it's just direction.